Guys, up next.
Before I cut your tongue out, what's your excuse?
I was 5 years old.
I am a messenger of pain sent to make you remember that your last name is Miller.
All right, folks, up next, we have a very special interview segment lined up for you tonight on The Cutting Room. We are going to welcome the director of The Orphan Killer, Matt Farnsworth, and the very lovely and the very talented lead actress in the film as well, Diane Foster is with us. Matt, Diane, hi, welcome to The Cutting Room.
What's up, everybody? Hi.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having us, man. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And I do have a couple of questions that I wanted to ask you guys before we even get into The Orphan Killer, if that's okay.
Sure.
Matt, I know that you started in the business as an actor. Is that right?
Yeah, I did.
The one thing I need to ask you after studying your filmography is this, my friend. What was it like to act alongside the guy who played Francis Buckton in Pee-wee's Big Adventure in the film Gacy?
He's right, man. He's actually a nice guy.
No, of course he is. No, he's a very. I love Gacy. I love his performance in it. No, totally. It's no. I mean, you know,
Tom's just the president of the fan club of the Pee Wee Herman fan club, so that's why he's asked. I mean, he was really nervous talking to you. I mean, just because you were on a film with.
How do you not love that performance? I mean, it's directed by Tim Burton. I mean, he's alongside Paul Rubens. I mean, no, it's absolutely it's brilliant. It's total brilliance, and his performance as Gacy was really disturbing as well, man.
He lived it, actually. He was pretty disturbing on set, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, he was not really. He was more of a. He was very serious about it. You could tell he had the comedic edge. He was a nice guy, but at the same time, he did take it very seriously, considering it was a very low budget film. And he did a great job. Just I like him a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely a cool guy, and he's been. I mean, not just the Francis Buxton thing, but he's got that great line in The Naked Gun when he just stands up in the crowd and says, "That's Enrico." So, I mean, the guy. I mean, seriously. I mean, he's written into so many, classic Americana things from
The 80s.
Yeah, from doing those two things and then doing that outstanding performance. Matt, you and Diane, are you a couple or are you just good friends?
We are a couple, yes. We've been together a long time.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
Now, did you two meet on the set of Descendant?
Yeah. I was doing that movie. I got hired on to do that movie with Katherine Heigl.
Wow, he does his homework.
And then, they decided to do an additional shoot, like just out of the blue, like after the show had shot, like a month later, they were like, we got to do a pickup scene. And I came out to the set in LA, and she was playing my girlfriend that day, and we've never really been apart since.
So literally, William Cott had everything to do with putting you two guys together as a couple.
I mean, in that aspect, yeah, he really did. It was.
Matt, do you ever say that to anyone? Like, hey, look, man, the greatest American hero brought us together.
Hooked me up. Yeah.
I mean, this is something I would fucking brag about, man. I mean, seriously.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. I never thought of it that way.
I haven't either. Thanks for putting it in that perspective. That's hysterical.
Yeah.
That was a favorite show of mine, man. I used to love that show.
Tom, you never cease to amaze me with like this encyclopedic knowledge of actors and performers and directors. Like you pull this stuff out. You've been doing it for like 20 years, and it never ceases to amaze me that you pull this stuff out.
So I'll tell you, man. Your first film that you directed is a film called Iowa, I believe, right?
Right.
I want to ask you because I mean you're an independent guy and you have created such a tremendous amount of buzz with the Orphan Killer. I mean, unlike almost anything that I've ever seen in the horror genre. I saw that Iowa was, I mean, for a first film, I mean, it was a budget of $2 million.
Yeah, it was less than that. I don't know who put that up there.
Okay, all right. Well, I mean, to even have a talent like Rosanna Arquette in your film and a few others.
Yeah.
I mean, like for anybody that's out there just trying to get their films going. I mean, how did you get it off the ground, my brother?
Well, I wrote a good script. I mean, it starts with that, and then you go out, you try to find investors, people that have money that are interested in making films. I guess I have sort of a knack for writing and getting movies in front of people that can get them funded.
Yeah, I mean it's certainly. I mean, I cannot, and it's a great segue to what you're really here to talk about. Is I cannot go on the internet without. I mean, the Orphan Killer, like it's in front of me every day, and this is absolutely sensational. I don't think I've ever seen a film, even the huge Hollywood blockbuster films, marketed better, Matt. I mean, you really do a brilliant job at getting this horrific masterpiece out there, my friend. I mean, can you give a little, a little bit of your secrets away to some guys that are out there that are just trying to get their shit done, man?
Sure. Well, Iowa, you brought that up. That movie to me and to a lot of people that message me is like they're Citizen Kane. They'll message me and say they love that film. But see, it didn't do so well in terms of the critics and stuff. It was the #1 film at Tribeca Film Festival, and it was released theatrically. It had some stars in it, and it's a damn good movie. But, you got to learn how to handle the press, and you learn how to market a film and who to give it to and who to work with, that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
On the second film, The Orphan Killer, I was very, careful about who I would work with, and I've been very strategic about keeping it, and I'm very passionate about it. I care very much about it, and I create everything. I create everything myself. So, like the photographs and things, we take, and the advertising and the marketing and stuff, and we sort of all come together as a team, Diane and the Orphan Killer and I, and we're, passionate about what we create, and it shows. People enjoy it. They come and they look at the pictures and they dig it, man.
Yeah, I mean, Diane, I was watching it last night, and it's I watch a lot of horror movies for the podcast, and it's very easy to witness a lot of actors and actresses just go through the motions and stuff. But your performance is really, I mean, I'm getting like literally some chills just thinking about it. I mean, it was truly frightening. I mean, I was scared, and it was because of it was because of you as well as the frightening presence on screen known as the Orphan Killer. Great job. Yeah. I mean, you did a wonderful job, man. Can you talk to me at all about some of the preparation, you did for that character?
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much. That really means a lot to me that you felt that way and you were so moved by my performance. Obviously, I did my job. Matt is, a lot of it has to do with him as a director. He really allowed David, who plays the Orphan Killer, and I to improv a lot in the boiler room scene. A lot of that was sort of like just let the camera roll and let's just go with this. And I think part of the performance being good is because he allowed us to do that. So I just took it very seriously. I actually changed as a person after this film. I went through a metamorphosis, having to go through all of that. I kind of became a lot tougher as a person.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was really an incredible thing to have to go through, and I'm happy that I did. I'm glad I got the opportunity to.
Diane,
that boiler room scene is just
intense,
it's just really intense.
It was really
turn your head sometimes.
I know.
And that's effective, man. I mean, it really is.
During the filming, actually, the sound guy and a few of the guys on the crew would say, I can't eat lunch today. because of what's going on in here. I can't do it.
It was the set though too, man. We were in an abandoned hospital, okay, and it was a boiler room. There was a morgue around the corner that smelled like formaldehyde.
Yeah.
So you were living this whole life where this boiler room, like of 3,000-4,000 square feet, maybe even more, had just like it was like people. It had been abandoned for about a year, but it was like everybody just got up and just walked out. The coffee cups were still there. All of the equipment was still there. It was like a zone where people had just gotten up and time had frozen. So it was really freaky. And so people would feel very like uncomfortable in this setting. We had a lot of weird, like little supernatural things happening on the set. And I think that translated into that boiler room stuff. And, and especially like when she talks about the direction and stuff, what we do is a special thing where I really won't give a shit too much about, the actual soundtrack of it. I care. But at the same time, I will talk to them while they're acting. In other words, I've got the camera on my shoulder. I'm actually operating most of the time. And I will be filming them, and I will be telling them what to do, moment by moment. Mm-hmm. And then I'll let them go with it for a little bit, and then I'll tell them to do something different. But we're still recording as I'm talking,
And so you just loop in the sound afterwards in editing.
Yeah, whatever I feel. Like if she, like in the boiler room, she really did that stuff. Like we all kind of shut up when she started doing the thing where, he's like, you don't know what he's cutting down below her. And, he's be like cutting some really important stuff that we all care about. And, and so we're all mortified by that. But she did those sounds. Everybody was quiet for that kind of thing. But as far as David is concerned and like the recording of the sound and stuff, I made a lot of the dialogue up after we shot that.
Wow. Wow. So, Diane, you've worked with other directors before, and I'm sure what Matt does is a little bit different, right? By talking to you through a scene, I would imagine that with some directors it wouldn't work at all.
Yeah, totally. Some directors are, much, a lot more quiet. They sort of just, let you do it, take you over to the side, talk to you about it, and then you do it again. Some are very involved. It really depends on the director. They're all very different, and they bring something different, each time. So that's just Matt's flair. That's his style. Mm-hmm. That's the way he rolls, So everybody kind of gets that on the set, and it's really nice because everybody has a great energy on set when we're with Matt. He really is a great leader and is very helpful. Everyone's moving lights and cameras, and nobody's just sitting around doing nothing. Everybody's a part of it as a team. So that really makes the movie good. And I think that energy is what made The Orphan Killer so good to begin with.
Yeah, his look visually is sustained, throughout the whole film, which is great, and it's something that is rare in a lot of films. So Matt, you do a great job at that. Let me, Joe, before I'm going to let you ask him some questions about directing and acting in just a second. I just want to ask one more question to Matt and Diane. Diane, you're a star of a popular horror film, but slasher film, really. Were you a fan of horror movies growing up? When you got into acting, is this something you want? Did you want to star in a really kick-ass horror movie?
You know what? I've always been a fan of horror movies. I used to love Freddy. He scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. I loved the Halloween movies. So yeah, I was totally a horror fan. In my mind, did I ever think, hey, I'm just going for, slasher films and that's exactly what I want to be? No. I'm an actress and I like doing all kinds of different things. So, you got to kind of go with what you can get.
Matt, what was it like for you to jump from Iowa to The Orphan Killer?
Well, I liked the parts of Iowa that had the gore in it. I had, and people don't know this really, but if you watch Iowa, David Backus is Nick Slavens in Iowa. He's the lead in Iowa. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so if you watch that, he's a great actor, by the way.
Right.
So is Diane, but that's one of the reasons why The Orphan Killer is so good. But yeah, man, I had an interesting transition. I liked the gore parts of Iowa, okay? There was a finger cut off. There was like a throat cut. And I loved like the blood when I saw that, like the real practical effects happening. I thought, well, that's amazing, man. I really like that. And then I was doing a deal on Iowa where I was talking to the Cuban brothers over at Magnolia, and they wanted to buy the movie. And And then they were like, I don't know what happened. We didn't do a deal or whatever, but they were like, you should make a horror movie because you have those kind of you have that kind of flair to your work. And I kind of rolled with that. And me telling obviously investors that the Cuban brothers thought I could make some money if I made a horror movie didn't hurt. And so I went ahead. I wrote The Orphan Killer, and we got some funding for it. We went into production. We shot a bunch of it. I brought it back to the edit suite, and it sucked. It was just terrible. It was like nothing that I could have ever imagined wanting. And so I got a little fired up, and I decided I'm going to shoot a bunch of stuff. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to just do another month, and I'm going to shoot a bunch of kills, hardcore. I'm going to go back to traditional 80s style slasher, and I'm just going to tear people apart. And I did, and it just turned out, fantastic. We drew every kill out, like with a storyboard artist, Joe Laney in New York, who's fantastic. And we were really organized about the mayhem, and we got great guys like David Presto, and Josh Turry, who are just like they're being called like the new Tom Savinis of horror because of the work they did with the blood. I mean, they did such a fantastic job. And so that's sort of how that whole thing transitioned over.
It's gory as hell, and a word that I could tell that you love using is bloody.
Yeah, well, hey, the Orphan Killer is an interesting character because I never knew what was going to happen. The Orphan Killer started talking to fans on Facebook.
Oh man! And that's great.
He had his own page, and so you kind of wanted to know why you see it everywhere. And so why is because people had never. The Orphan Killer is the first horror icon of the digital age. He is the new Facebook 21st century horror icon. You see, Freddie never talked to his fans directly, out of the chute before his film was even released, and sort of said, "Hey, I'm a super creepy dude who will cut you apart, and come watch this movie." And I think that's sort of what you're getting at is how did you create that kind of hype and buzz and stuff? And there are people that now message me and say, "We're following your platform for marketing." And that really is the platform. David, the Orphan Killer is the original guy to actually speak to his fans directly before anything was ever released. He posted a few photographs of some really vicious shit on Facebook, and horror fans, slasher fans, obviously they went nuts. Look at this guy in this mask with this $1 million look on this, beautiful.
Yeah, they thought it was real, actually, at first.
Real, yeah.
Oh man.
Well, that mask is really creepy, and it is really iconic. It has the makings of an iconic mask, kind of like a Freddy or a Jason look. It's very well designed.
Yeah, it's rad, and that mask is like totally. It evolves. I think every time we throw blood on it, guts on it, and stuff, it changes. It's changed since the beginning, but. Yeah, the Orphan Killer just became a really popular, guy on Facebook, and then, as you know, he's now got like 140,000 fans. And what happened is we did like a limited test of the movie on DVD, and we put it out to Facebook fans, and all of a sudden, there was obviously piracy right away. And the interesting thing about that is that Sitges Film Festival and these festivals in Spain and Europe, and all these people started emailing me and going, "Hey, can we honor your film at our festival?" And I was shocked. I'm like, I've never.
And they heard of it through the piracy?
I believe so, man.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Like that's something that doesn't happen or hasn't happened in the way that movies used to get out there.
Yeah.
And now that's something completely new.
Traditionally, everything was just sort of broken apart by this film, and we've had offers from studios. I had a deal with Anchor Bay that I could have done. I've had a lot of deals that I just don't feel like after my first picture and dealing with Iowa and the different studios on that, I didn't see a need when the movie had already become famous to have a studio come in and monetize the work that we'd done to market the film, because they don't give you what you deserve, and you'll find it very difficult if you go in and you do a deal with the studio to come out of it, if you don't get a ton of money up front, to come out of it ever seeing a dime due to creative accounting. So that is, we're in a position now where you're going to be seeing the Orphan Killer probably even more because, ads are going to start coming up on Dread Central, Bloody Disgusting, Fangoria. Fangoria is going to be talking about it at their booth at Comic-Con. I mean, it's really
that's big, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty rad, man.
Mummy, do you have any technical questions for the man?
Well, I was going to ask. You said you do a lot of the filming yourself. What other roles do you carry over into? I mean, I know as a independent filmmaker, a lot of times you do a lot of editing, or I know you're heavily involved with the marketing. Sounds like you're doing some cinematography. But talk a little bit about your crew and how you work with your crew, and if you are your crew, and how that works.
Well, I think that Diane is a producer. So she does a lot of the producing in terms of negotiating locations, talking to people. I mean, we filmed a lot of this in Union and where she grew up. And so, the producing aspect she handled, we got $10,000 a day locations for nothing.
Wow.
So that comes in, key is you have somebody to work with like her, first of all. Second was me, being confident handling a camera. So yeah, I do like the camera. We use the Thompson Viper, which is a 444 camera. We shot it all film stream. If you don't know what that is, which you probably do, that's like, basically higher than high definition. That's a raw image. Mm-hmm. So, it's very good in low light settings. It's a beautiful camera. Michael Mann and David Fincher like that camera. I like it also. I would use it again in an instant. And I do the workflow. I actually took the movie in. I cut it on Final Cut. I actually ingested it myself. I actually got the HD Cam SR deck. I conformed the film myself. I actually did all of the color grading myself. I actually can run Pro Tools, and I did a lot of the sound design myself.
And the Foley.
and we actually
wow.
We did do the Foley in the studio,
We were smashing watermelons with knives.
Yeah, we were having a good time. Yeah, her wrists, like on the
the barbed wire scene.
When her wrists are coming out. That's just me, like really close to a shotgun mic, just taking a piece of celery and just slowly peeling a piece of celery. So very interesting the way the whole thing worked. But yeah, I am a one-man shop. I mean, I think that I sort of hand-stitched the film, and I feel like that's why it's just so kind of it's cool, man. I really like.
Yeah, well, you get that feel of like this urgency or this intimacy with it, that it feels raw.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's those great films that we all love from the 70s have that feel to it. And though this one your film looks a lot cleaner and sharper, and you still coming through that, you get that sense of raw grittiness, despite it being so beautifully shot.
Thanks, man. That's Robert Brown. That's the guy that taught me to edit. He's Robert Brown taught me to edit. He cut Iowa, and I ended up cutting some of that too. But he cut the original Amityville Horror.
Wow.
And Lost Boys. And
Lost Boys, and all the Lethal Weapon films, and the guy is just outstanding. He taught me how to edit. I was lucky enough to sit down with him for like 4 months, and I taught him technology. He taught me how to cut, and
he's cutting for like Richard Donner and Joel Schumacher. That's pretty good, man.
Right. So I was really fortunate in my ability to be able to work with him, and I also worked with a guy named Pablo Ferro on some things on Iowa too. Well, he's the guy who did the original trailer for A Clockwork Orange and all of the poster work and the design and the marketing. Mm-hmm. And so Pablo taught me a lot too. So between Robert Brown and Pablo, who are both like big 70s guys, 80s guys, I think that sort of translated right into me, and I put that kind of energy out.
Yeah, one of my favorite scenes in The Orphan Killer, Matt, is that scene you directed with the kids in the bathtub, with the home invasion scene. I wanted to ask you, directing children in such a scary atmosphere, how did you handle that?
Well, that's an interesting way to do it. You got to be really careful. I mean, the kids were in a separate room, and they had no concept. I shot it on a different day. Mm-hmm. They had no concept of anything that was happening outside of the room.
It was more or less like, okay, there's scary sounds happening. Nothing. It was almost like Scooby-Doo-like,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. A little bit like that. When you're dealing with kids, it's a little bit more like that. As they get a little bit older, it's a little bit easier. But with little kids like that, they weren't involved in seeing any kind of the brutal stuff.
But to get that performance, the scene really works well, and it really helps bring the story. You know, it helps it as a whole, and you really did a great job with creating, you know, terror in the looks of these kids. It was pretty amazing.
That's just those are my kids. So
oh, wow.
Right.
Yeah, Joe uses his kids too in his movies. Yeah.
Diane and I, those are our kids.
Oh wow,
right
great. Well, they did a great job, man.
Thanks. Yeah, they're really great actors. I mean, they're Los Angeles natives. They've been in front of, they've seen the camera. I mean, Diane was pregnant with Golden, our son, when, you know, we were filming Iowa. You know, she was pregnant. So it was like, you know, he's been on sets and, you know, in audio, you know, studios and stuff. So he's really a cool actor, and he really did a great job in that scene. And Spencer List is the older, you know, sort of boy in another scene there. And, you know, they're both great actors, but, you know, the kids did a really good job considering they were only like, what, 4 and 6?
Yeah, 4 and 6. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just goes to show you the magic of filmmaking when you can have two kids in a room and they don't really know what's going on, but through overlaying sound and editing, you get this really realistic vibe, and that's what's so beautiful about film.
Totally. Plus, little Audrey looked just like Diane. It's her daughter.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's right. That's true.
The look, really, you get that where you're like, you believe that's Diane as a child. Well, that's really her biological daughter. So you can't really get much.
Well, I smell sequel.
Well, they're going to be in another film for sure.
Well, speaking of sequels, or you know, just the future in general, Matt and Diane, what do you have coming up next for us?
Well, I mean, I'm working on TOK2. I've written most of TOK2, Bound by Blood.
Nice.
And you know the movie, and you know what Diane goes through in the film, and you know that she's not always good. You know, she's got Orphan Killer in the bloodline. And so, you know, they're going to come together again. She's going to be taught another lesson so that she finally knows. And after that, you'll see why there's Orphan Killer 2.
Awesome. So Diane, you ready for some more some splatter, some more torture, some more murder, some more mayhem?
Absolutely. I can't wait. I'm like itching. It's funny because the Orphan Killer and I both are like, every time we see each other, we're like, man, we can't wait to get filming. We just want to kill each other. We're ready to beat each other up. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Billy or Ash, do you want to throw anything to Matt or Diane before we let them go?
Well, you know, I do have one question because you're talking about all these editing tools and everything that are so available to filmmakers now, when that used to be very departmentalized. Do you think 15 years ago this would have been a much different movie had you not had those tools available?
Well, yeah, it would have been a lot more cost prohibitive because we would have had to shot on film. And we also would have had access to an Avid, and, you know, it would have been just a different, you know, story, different budget level. You know, I mean, we're able to shoot a lot more media on a Viper, and I'm able to, you know the workflow a lot easier. I wouldn't really know how to process film. I mean, if we were going to have to go and process, you know, the film, it would be a lot more time-consuming endeavor. Plus, the editing gear back then, I mean, and the Avids and stuff, that was a lot more expensive. And so...
Right, yeah.
Well, and also social media.
Plus, I mean, the optical effects, technically, I mean, just the opticals alone. I mean, you want to do a dissolve 15 years ago. I mean, that cost money.
Yeah, and I was saying social media as well. That wasn't even around.
No.
You know, 15 years ago. So I mean, for that changed our entire lives.
Right.
Being able to, you know, talk to horror fans worldwide. They know about our film now. They wouldn't have 15 years ago.
Cut the studio completely out of the picture. I mean, let's face it, you know, I'm able to speak directly with horror fans without having a studio say, we're going to give you a bunch of money to put, you know, money into marketing your film so that everybody knows about it. We're able to let people know, hey, we made this really cool movie that's, you know, it's a multi-million-dollar pick, but, you know, it doesn't need to be put out by a studio. We got this awesome movie. Check it out. And they're able to see it and access it and know about it.
Right.
Matt and Diane, where can our fans get to your stuff, man, on Facebook and on the internet? Give yourselves a shout out so we can get some people heading your direction.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you can grab the film on the official website at theorphankiller.com or theorphankillerstore.com. We got signed autographed Blu-rays in there, autographed DVDs. We got an awesome mask. It's an official mask. It's like a cinema replica. We sent Tony Zagone in Chicago the original mask, and he made a mold from the mask. And so we've cut these masks, and they're rad. They're $50. They're super high quality. They're all hand stitched and hand painted. They're just a really cool piece. I'm signing copies for people if they want them signed, and so is Diane. And we got a Facebook presence, as you know, on Facebook. Just go and type in the Orphan Killer. He's got like 140,000 fans now. You can't miss him.
And the fans could definitely click down below on our post, and we'll take you to Matt's sites, man. Matt and Diane, I want to thank you both so very much for coming on tonight on the Cutting Room. You both have an obvious love for each other, a great love for cinema, an amazing love for horror, and I cannot thank you enough for coming on the show tonight and talking about your fucking great movie, man. Thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, really, thanks so much, guys.
One thing we forgot to mention is that it was banned in Germany.
Oh, yeah.
That's always which is always good.
Yeah, that's definitely a good thing.
Right. I got a letter from the German government, and they said, your film is youth endangering, blah, 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 blah. And I thought that was pretty cool, so I thought I'd throw that in. But we really do. We appreciate it more than you know, that you help us. This is what it's all about. Guys like you saying, hey, we like your movie, we want to talk and stuff, and we appreciate what you do, just as much, man. Seriously, thank you so much.
No, thank you, and hopefully we could get you guys back maybe sometime in the winter time, and you could keep us posted on the Orphan Killer too, man.
Yeah, we'll be somewhere different then.
Yeah,
definitely.
we're going to Indianapolis. We'll be in Indianapolis, Days of the Dead. Well, actually, we're going to Crypticon there. In Seattle next week. Well, then we'll be in Indianapolis. Then we'll be in Chicago Flashback Weekend. Then we'll be in Gettysburg Horrifying Weekend. And then we'll be up in Montreal at Comic-Con in Montreal.
Awesome. Matt and Diane, thank you so much for coming on once again. I wish you two the very, very best in life and in the film world, man. Thank you for coming on, guys.
Thank you guys so much.
Have a blessed night.
Thank you, guys.